Hello everyone. Today we are looking at a passage 3, Ancient Ocean Journeys, Myth and Method. How they mapped the unknown. Okay, we have yes and not given. So let's look at them. The Pacific Islands were uninhabited. Okay, uninhabited means if people don't live, that's called uninhabited. Uninhabited. Okay. When migrants arrived by the sea from Southeast Asia. Okay. Henry Sharp was the first person. Was he the first person to write about the migrants to islanders? Okay. Next, he believed that migratory voyages were based on more on luck than skill. Okay. Luck than skill. Okay. They are comparing more on luck rather than skill. So despite being controversial, his research had positive results. Did it have positive results? We will check. So Edwin Doran disagreed with the findings of Lewis' research. Okay. This research was different because we need to find a reason. This research. Okay, what did David Lewis' research discover about traditional navigators? What are we told about Edwin Doran's research? Okay, which of the following did Stephen Horvath discover during his research? Okay, and next one, what is the writer's opinion of this person's research? Okay. Now we have one limitation in the information produced by all of this research is that, okay, the best thing about this type of research, okay, the most important achievement of traditional navigators, migration of people from Asia to Pacific. Okay, now we are going to continue with the passage. So the first thing that I have to focus on is this one by one. Okay, we should read it as fast as possible. Tiny islands, Pacific Ocean had no human population until, okay, you can see the many tiny islands of the Pacific Ocean had no human population until ancestors of today's islanders sailed from Southeast Asia in ocean-going canoes approximately 2,000 years ago. That's the correct answer for question number 1. And the answer for question number 1 is definitely yes. So uninhabited means had no human population. And yeah, you can see it. It's pretty simple. Next one. Was he the first person? Okay. At the present time, debate continued. Okay, no information about that person. Although the romantic vision of some early 20th century writers of heroic navigators simultaneously setting sail had come to be considered by later investigators, it means there were some early writers to be exaggerated. No consideration of Pacific voyaging was forthcoming until 1956 when the American historian this person published his research. Okay, was he the first person? No, there were, I think, some early 20th century writers also. That's why the correct answer is gonna be no. Next one. Migratory voyages based on more on luck than skill. Let's check it. Sharp challenges the idea. Okay, navigators. Sharp challenged the heroic vision by asserting that expertise of navigators was limited. It means, I think expertise. It means like skill. Their skill was limited, and the settlement of the islands was not systematic. Okay, settlement of the islands, like going to the islands, was not a skill. It was not systematic. It was not hard work. Being more dependent on good fortune. Good fortune is a synonym for luck. By drifting canoes. I think this is gonna be definitely yes, because good fortune means luck rather than skill. Next one, despite being controversial, so Sharp's theory was widely challenged. Widely challenged, I think it's controversial. And if nothing else, however, it did spark renewed interest. I think this is a positive thing in the topic and precipitated valuable new research. So they are counting the positive results, and despite being controversial, everything is here. I would go with yes. Next one, this person. I think you can see it like yes, no, yes, yes. There should be at least one not given, guys. At least there should be one not given. Even if I don't read the passage, I can guess it logically. There should be at least one not given among these 5 questions. We will check it. Don't worry. So we will see whether there is disagreement or no about this. Okay. So Lewis research. Scene is conducted thankfully while. Okay. Okay, let's skim and scan as fast as possible. Nothing about disagreement, I guess. David Lewis, physician, set to work using his own unique philosophy. He took the yacht he had owned for many years, okay, navigated through the islands to contact those men who still find their way at sea using traditional methods. Okay, they used some traditional method. He then accompanied these men, followed these people, traditional, in their traditional canoes. Now, first pay attention, he had his own yacht, but then in their canoes, on test voyages from which all modern instruments were banished from sight. Okay, it means modern instruments were limited, okay? Secretly used them to confirm navigators' calculations. His most famous such voyage was the return trip around, okay? He observed traditional navigations at work. Maybe he conducted test voyage using his own yacht. No, because he changed it in their traditional canoes. At first, yes, but not fully. Carried no modern instruments on test voyages. He carried no modern instrument. I think he secretly used it. Secretly used it. So that's why C is incorrect. He spoke the same language. Nothing about that. I guess the most logical answer would be this. Next. Far from drifting as proposed. Like I need to find a discovery. As you can see, you have to not only think about which answer is correct, but also you have to think about which one is incorrect when it comes to multiple choice questions. So, found ancient navigators would have known which course to steer by memorizing which stars rose and set in certain positions along the horizon, and this gave them fixed directions. No. Directions. Okay, fixed directions. They used the sun and moon. Maybe they could not sail. They could not sail? No, not this one. They knew which direction they were sailing in. Yeah, they were able to drift for long distances. Which course? Yeah, they knew their locations. Yeah, you may think like the moon, the sun, and the moon synonyms for stars, but in the passage they did not specifically say the sun and moon. That's why I cannot choose A. The same goes for B. Not sail further than. You have to be careful with them. 33 is definitely C. Here, found that means like this is a discovery, guys. Next one. What are we told about? We need the discovery. You have to pay attention to the question like which one is the discovery? He found that. It means the correct location would be this part. What are we told about this research? Edwin, okay, followed a quite different approach. He was interested in obtaining exact data on canoe sailing performance, and to that end employed the latest electronic instrumentation, using his instruments to record. They said, okay, so data were collected after return to land, recorded using. I think this one is definitely correct. I think this was an easy one. Most densely populated. No, navigators were not allowed. They didn't talk about whether something was allowed or no. I have to be faster. Which of the following did this person discover? Okay. Techniques in canoes. Look, Hoover's interest was not in navigation techniques or in canoes, but in their physical capabilities. But in their physical capabilities of man. By adapting standard physiological techniques, he or she was able to calculate the energy expenditure required to paddle the canoes of this sort at times when there was no wind. Okay, when there was no wind, they used physical capabilities. Canoes were designed. Canoe design was less important than they did not compare. New research methods had to be developed for use in canoes. No. Navigators became very tired. Did they talk about being tired? No. Human energy may have been used. Yeah, this one is the correct answer because they said human capabilities. That's why this is going to be the correct answer. Okay. How about this? What is the writer's opinion about? What is the writer's opinion? Okay, disappointed, impressed. Okay, limitation. I don't know. Let me do it in the end. I'm, to be honest, fed up with multiple choice. Let's look at them. What do we learn? Okay, one limitation. Did they talk about limitation? Where? Limitation. What do we learn about Pacific navigation avoiding from this research? Quite correctly, none of the researchers tried to use their findings to prove one theory or another. Experiments such as this cannot confirm or negate a hypothesis. I think this is a limitation. Limitation is a difficulty. None of the researchers tried to use, like researchers did not try to prove their theory. This is going to be the limitation. Variety of techniques used was not young islanders, no. Not conclusive evidence. This is going to be the correct answer. Like C is going to be correct. For this one, was being able to change, no. Humans, no, no, okay. Next, let me come to the strengths of this research. Strengths of this research means the best thing about research lay in the range of methodologies. The range means if you know, you know. It's variety of experiment. That's why A would be the correct answer. The most important achievement of traditional navigators. The most important achievement, okay. The range of would be the correct answer for the previous Venvis findings. Navigators use a variety of navigation techniques. Now it was this adaptability which was their greatest accomplishment. Accomplishment is a synonym for achievement, the most important, the greatest, okay? Look, variety of canoe type, source water, navigation techniques, adaptability. I think adaptability, not speed, not first time. I think they could change. So the correct answer would be D for this one. And finally, when it comes to migration of people from Asia to the Pacific, okay, migration of people from Asia to the Pacific. These navigators observed the conditions prevailing at sea at the time a voyage was made and altered their techniques accordingly. Now, I think they are referring to the previous question, like this one, D, like altered their techniques means change. It was actually clear from this sentence, but they made it even clearer. Furthermore, the canoes of navigators were not drifting hopelessly. Most likely, part of the people were able to view the ocean avenue to communicate before Earth. Now, people were able to view the ocean as an avenue, not a barrier, to communicate before any other race on Earth. Finally, one unexpected but most welcome consequence of this research has been a renaissance in the practice of traditional voyaging. So, I think this is going to be the relevant part of the passage. Before any other race on Earth would be the synonym for the first time. Communicate before any other race on Earth. Was the first time humans intentionally crossed, not the first time. Finally, one unexpected but welcome consequence. So this is gonna be E. So you need to be good at synonyms, guys. You need to be good at working with synonyms. And this one left. What is the writer's opinion? Okay, let's read. Team led by conducted most supposed in this case by making investigations while remaining safe. Laboratory. His unusual method was to use findings from linguists who had studied the languages of the Pacific Islands, many of which are remarkably similar, although the islands where they are spoken are sometimes thousands of kilometers apart. Clever adaptation of computer simulation techniques pioneered in other disciplines allowed him to produce convincing models suggesting the migrations were indeed systematic. Now they were actually systematic, not related to luck, but not simultaneous, but not at the same time. Proposed it should be seen as a single journey made by a massive fleet of canoes, but as a series of even more ambitious voyages, each pushing further into the unknown ocean. Disappointed? No. Impressed? Originality of techniques? Maybe this one, but I'm not sure. Surprised? Did they talk about wow, like being surprising? They didn't talk about. Concerning the islands are long distances apart. I would go with B, according to General May, because here they are talking about like findings and techniques, amazing techniques, although they were not simultaneous. That's fine. I'm gonna go with this. It was fun, to be honest, to solve this method. And among multiple choice questions, I guess the last one was the most challenging one for me, I think. But I think when it comes to yes and no given questions, they were pretty easy. Thanks for watching, and bye bye.